Yes, good morning. Good morning and welcome to another beautiful, beautiful day to talk about trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. My name is Mobola Sandra and you're welcome to Trends in the Papers. Today, this very wonderful, beautiful Monday, the 24th of April 2023, also happens to be a public holiday, so I'm sure that a lot of us are at home, resting, spending time with family and friends and loved ones, which is a good thing. And still in the season of, well, still in the, still in the season, celebrating with our Muslim brothers and sisters as they celebrate the end of Ramadan. All right, we have our trending stories here, of course, as usual. But then before we move into the trending stories for the day, we had a lot of trending stories over the weekend, and I thought to bring you up to speed. As regards the Sudan crisis, the federal government kicks off process to evacuate stranded Nigerians in Sudan. Also, we had over the weekend, Sanwo-Olu orders demolition of two-story building and seals others in Banana Island. House of Representatives members-elect for Jalingo Eurozing Federal Constituency in Taraba State, Ismaila Mai Banchi, is dead. Very unfortunate. Just a few weeks to, hand over. That happened. Also, a very interesting trending story over the weekend is the whereabouts of the suspended Adamawa resident electoral commissioner. Is unknown. That is what we got over the weekend, as INEC says suspended Adamawa Rex whereabouts unknown. Also, we have the president gave a speech over the weekend where he made a lot of statements, which includes to the president-elect, he says, "I am waiting to welcome you as president. May 29 handover date sacrosanct." He also said, "Pardon me if I hurt you." That is the president to Nigerians. Also, trending over the weekend, we have APC opposition parties in battle of wits over Gbajabiamila successor. I don't think that's going to end anytime soon until APC actually does something about that. But we also have nationwide darkness looms as Gencos threaten to shut down power plants. Also, federal government begins 40% pay rise for workers and excludes doctors and lecturers. Census risks postponement over funding and logistics problems. Also have Governor Bello Matawale of Zafra State reinstates Emir of Yandoto Alhaji Aliu after being cleared of allegations of complicity with bandits. Also, we had over the weekend bandits release 4 Kebbi schoolgirls after 22 months in captivity. Let's not forget that 4 of 11 schoolgirls were abducted from Federal Government College in Kebbi State 2 years ago have been released. And finally, Sports Minister Sunday Dare orders closure of National Stadium following collapse of floodlight mast. That is the major trend, those were the major trending stories over the weekend. I thought to bring you up to speed so we can then move on to the trending stories we have for this morning. We have the Punch, the Guardian, the Nation, and Vanguard newspaper. We'll try to be as quick as possible. But before we move on to do analysis to give us some in-depth analysis as regards the story we're going to be treating this morning, we have Fuhad Saheed joining in via the phone line. Good morning, Fuhad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you enjoying the holidays?
Holiday? Yes, welcome. No holiday. Only on the Sunday, I have to be in the office to tell you.
Exactly.
But it's fine.
All right, let's get to it. We'll start with the Guardian newspaper, and the major headline we have here is Rising Poverty, Costs Dampen eSIM Adoption, Impact on Nigeria's Card Production. All right, so that's a whole lot of text. So I'll try to break things down so we can, okay. There's a certain feedback from your end, Fuad. I don't know if you can help us with that. All right, so we have...
Is it better now?
Yes, much better. Thank you. All right, so we have riders. eSIM, contactless payments may cut Nigeria's SIM and ATM cards production by 60%. Local capacity production stands at 100 million. Telco operators import SIM cards at $3 each. NATCOMS wants innovation to remain optional, raises cyber concerns. Technology built to dictate market needs in 5 years, and banks are turning to eSIM as e-wallet platform. So, Nigeria's conventional plastic SIM cards producers may have found succor in the dismal number of people with access to smartphones as well as to the internet. With indications showing that they might take a longer period for embedded SIM to gain traction in the country. That's eSIM, so you don't have to like buy the plastic anymore. Okay, so it's almost like made with the phone. I think that's what this basically means. All right, so with
There are phones most of the latest phones. When I say latest now,
the more
they're
recent
too
phones.
expensive ones.
So they update. Oh,
To have the eSIM capacity, yeah, just I think it's all like they put something on it and then start working.
yeah, but what impact do you think this transition is going to have, you know, in Nigeria, especially through card production, where we have a lot of people who are into this business of, making the cards for the telco operators, of course.
Well, I don't think the production of card is going to stop anytime soon because again, how many folks have the eSIM capacity? Again, I mean, for now, the phones that have the eSIM capacity are the extremely expensive ones, and I doubt 5% of Nigerians are using that class of phone. So it's not something that will happen very, very fast. Honestly, the reality of it. We still have to produce films for years, until that point when the eSIM phones become something more affordable, which I doubt, because if you look at the kinds of phones now that have the eSIM capacity, you probably have to spend up to more than a million to get those kinds of phones. So I think, the story is what it is, but I doubt that the eSIM capacity phones become widespread to the point where it becomes a problem when it comes to production of things. We still have to use things for a longer time.
Yes,
not something that will go anytime soon.
Fuhad, I think I remember quite clearly once upon a time where SIMs were almost as large as an ATM card, and then we moved to micro SIMs, and then now we have nano SIMs where the SIM is it's almost like you're putting on your contact lens. That's how small these nano SIMs are. Yes, and the thing now is that there's a wide range of high end iOS and Android phones models that have already adopted the eSIM cards. All right, so what you're saying now is that are you saying now that this is going to create a big divide as regards phone users, where we have the high end going of course for the eSIM, since that is the only thing that their phone can work with in the first place, and then you have the low end users where they still have to continue with the plastic SIMs?
Well, that's what will happen. But again, I think it depends on manufacturers how easily they're able to manufacture phones that are easily able to use in software and all of that. If you find a situation where very affordable phones become adaptable to using opportunities or software, that we may be campaigns to physical things, the physical things. It's not impossible to find that. Because technology is very, very, it's something that comes very fast, easily. You may find a situation where even the smartphones are built and, to be able to cope with using software. I think that I can believe that we say bye-bye, to the manufacturing of physical things. So this technology is going to change a lot of things, standard. Technology will have to change a lot of things. And when we keep telling people, if you are an artisan or somebody who works, you have to put your eye on technology. Because if you are not very careful, technology will take over your job. And you just find out that there is no need for your service. So, but again, I still think that the eSIM thing is not going to happen very fast as I expected it to happen. Again, because of our income level in this part of the world, because of the availability of technology too in this part of the world. So it's a trend that I think we need to keep our eyes on. But the reality of our situation is that it will not happen very fast here in this part of the world.
All right. Well, from a point of knowledge, just for those of us who are listening, an eSIM is a digital SIM that allows users to activate their tariff plan from a carrier without using a physical SIM. There's a small chip that is being, embedded in the phone that already has, that would authenticate the user's identity with the carrier. That's what the eSIM is. So whether or not it would create any sort of problem, especially for the plastic SIM of producers in the country, we'll see as we move on. I mean, if we've been able to survive the mini SIM, the micro SIM, the nano SIM, if we've been able to survive all of that, I don't know. But then more details on page 6.
Which one do you use?
Now,
Yes.
me, myself, and I. I'm, I'm currently using the nano SIM. That's the smallest as of now.
Oh, okay. You're one of the good
That's one of the smallest as of now. But then, more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. All right, we also have here on the front page of the Guardian, Ayetoro is a community in Ondo State. And according to reports, it is slipping into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, we have riders to that. Inhabitants in disarray say over 10 kilometers have already been lost to the ocean. We also have, we've been abandoned by government and oil firms, the dwellers are saying. It's a huge project. We cannot handle it alone, says Ondo State government. So, as we go into the rainy season, of course, the truth is that Ondo State, which happens to be one of the oil-producing states in the country, is located on the front lines of, it's a coastal community, let me put it that way. It's a coastal community, especially Ayetoro is a coastal community in the Ilaje local council. And as it is now, with the rains pouring in and all, it's being threatened with extinction, as it is facing serious sea incursions and rising sea levels. It's a serious problem as it is now. For tourists, tides are always a beautiful sight to behold at the shorelines, but for Ayetoro residents, the waves have become a nightmare as it is now, clearing off a certain percentage of the residents of that particular state. Let's not forget that in times past, Ayetoro used to be recognized as one of the most prosperous riverine settlements in the country due to its thriving fish trade. It also flourished because of its political and social framework, which guaranteed equality and a sense of belonging for all indigents. But as it is now, it may be going into extinction. I'm talking about the Ayetoro community, due to the rising sea level and the fact that the community is slipping into the belly of the Atlantic Ocean. But what we're going to be looking at from this particular one now is two things. The first one is that according to the riders, Fuhad, the Ondo State government says it is too huge a project for them to handle alone. So from that, I don't know if they are calling on the federal government or they are calling on international sources. I don't know, but they're saying it is too big for them to handle. But then let's also not forget that Ondo State, being an oil-producing state, also has some benefits that's attached to the state already. Exactly. So what exactly can you make from this situation that the Ayetoro community in Ondo State is facing?
Okay, working with the two riders, Sandra, I agree that the Ondo State government may not be able to handle the problem alone because land reclamation from the sea is not something that can be easily handled by the government, the state government alone. But again, if you want to even reclaim the land, you have to do embankment to secure what you are reclaiming. If you remember, Lagos was facing the same problem in the Victoria land area some few years ago. But that was what necessitated the creation of the Atlantic Sea, the Lagos Atlantic Sea, which has now seen the whole of the front, the shoreline reclaimed, for real estate development and all of that. And the reason why it was easy for Lagos to do that was because there's a value to what has been reclaimed. That particular location has real estate value that can make a lot of sense for investors and all of that. So what we found Lagos was doing at that time was to partner with the federal government and the private sector, a PPP kind of arrangement. So you have the Lagos state government, the federal government, and private investors working together to secure the shoreline, of Lagos, Victoria Island. But for those states, I don't think they have the same value for real estate development along their shoreline. So it may be difficult for you to expect even private investors to go into that kind of partnership with the state government. Ultimately, I think the federal government would have to come in.
Yes.
The other one.
Yes. Sorry about cutting you short, but according to this report, there seems to be a multi-billion naira shore protection project that was actually aimed at rescuing the community, and it was awarded by the NDDC, and this was done over 10 years ago. There's a project that had been put in place that was supposed to, mitigate
take care of this problem.
Exactly. Rather than now that it is getting worse and things not seem to be making sense now.
Now, the second rider, thank God you're able to put this out on the story. And you also asked a very, very cogent question when we talk about benefits and growth to oil producing states. Now, Ondo State is one of the states that gets 13% realization. Ondo State also gets ecological funds. There's also NDDC that is supposed to take care of emergency or projects in a state like Ondo State because it's part of the Niger Delta state as an oil producing state. The question is, what happens to all of these funds? Because again, are we saying the ecological funds could not be, part of it to at least cure that area or until a permanent solution is found to it? Then what is the project? The contract has been awarded by NDDC. What has happened to that contract? Who got the contract? To what extent was the contract executed? If you understand what I'm saying.
I have all of that here because what we have now is that there was actually a 6.5 billion naira shoreline protection contract that was awarded to Atlantic Dredgers Limited in 2006.
So to what extent was that project executed? To be nice to know. It hope it's not one of those NDC projects that have ended up with off your mind. If you don't understand what I'm saying.
I remember.
So because a lot of NDC projects ended with off your mind.
Exactly.
Again, but I think that rising sea level standard is not a new thing all over the world.
It's climate
part
change.
Of the climate change conversation here.
Exactly.
But what we need to do now is to be more proactive to protect communities along our shoreline. The sea levels are going to continue to rise. It's part of climate change. So it's not anything new all over the world. I look at the way countries all over the world are responding, because the countries with exposure to the Atlantic Ocean or to the ocean do what it is to reclaim and create real estate development, forest development from these things. We need to be more proactive and deliberate about solutions to rising sea levels.
All right. Well, as it is now, what I'm getting here is that the federal government, aside from the fact that they had engaged the West African Coastal Area Management Program, there's also a World Bank arrangement for coastal erosion in the West African sub-region. Whether or not things would actually be done at this time now, Ayetoro is looking to the federal government through the Federal Ministry of Environment, the Federal Ministry of Finance, and probably the World Bank, and seeing if something.
You see, Sandra, you just mentioned the World Bank now. There are too many things that government in Nigeria use as opportunity to get all manner of grants and loans and all manner of things from the World Bank.
But what happens after that?
What happens after that is all of these monies and grants. Accountability. Exactly. This also brings up the issue of accountability. These contracts and projects and grants, we will destroy them for what they are meant.
Sometime in 2006, it says here in the report that there was a 6.5 billion naira shoreline protection contract that was awarded to a company. 6.5 billion in 2006. Now, Fuhad.
I'm with you. You want to hear the truth, or you want me to lie to you?
Don't lie to me.
I'll tell you the truth, and in just one word. Odilo.
Ah, not sure. All right. Well, the Ayetoro community in Ondo State is slipping into the Atlantic Ocean. Whether or not something will be done, whether by this administration or the incoming administration, the people of that community, they're crying out. And apparently, the state government is also crying out because they're saying it's too expensive for them to handle. So we'll get to get more details from that one. More details on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, we also have here Sudan. Federal government negotiates safe exit for stranded Nigerians. So efforts are being put in place for the evacuation of Nigerians in Sudan. And we have riders to that. Remain indoors. Embassy warns students. US, UK, Germany, France, diplomats evacuated. Obi expresses worry over trapped Nigerians. The report says a whole lot, but then what majority of what the report is saying is that there's a lot of internationals that are already being evacuated, but then the federal government of Nigeria now, through the chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabri Erewa, described the situation as a risky evacuation from Sudan. Because as it is now, it is getting super risky. Even the US has said, according to the report now, the US has said that it's now risky to evacuate private US citizens. They've been able to evacuate the diplomats, but now evacuating the private citizens has now gotten even difficult and risky as well. And also, let's not forget that still in Sudan, the internet is dropping, the connectivity level is dropping, which is going to make it difficult, even more difficult now for government to reach out to nationals of different countries. But then Fuhad, do you think do you think the Nigerians, especially the students in Sudan, can actually hold on to some sort of hope at the end of the tunnel, especially with an incoming administration by May 29?
I think we need to work with embassy officials in Khartoum in Sudan. They need to be very proactive. Understand that in a war situation, evacuations are a bit difficult and dangerous to do. The problem with a war situation is that it's complete anarchy. So you have gangs, you have soldiers, you have thugs and miscreants taking advantage of anybody and everybody. So sometimes these kinds of evacuation missions have to be done, with a level of caution, so that it doesn't become a problem too. So I think the government needs to, look for a way, especially working with our embassies in Ethiopia, our embassies in, I think in Kenya, and an embassy in Egypt. These are nations that share border with Sudan. So it will be easy. I think the first thing, I like the fact that at least we are trying to reach out to Nigerians. Like you said, the internet is a problem. The airports have been shut down in Sudan, so it's difficult to get used to anybody. So I think the best option would be to see how we can get our nationals to any of the borders and then evacuate them from either Egypt, Ethiopia, or Kenya. But again, it will mean that they have to do a long journey, a long bus ride from maybe Khartoum or anywhere they are. The problem again is that they will not be in one city. All Nigerian nationals are not going to be in the same city.
They're scattered.
So to put all of them together and evacuate them safely become a problem. And like we highlighted in the report, it's not only Nigeria that is facing that part of that problem. Even the United States and other countries have their worries, because again, that is where anarchy brings anger. It is important that we also mention it to Nigerians who think that we can get anything from anarchy and war. We are seeing what is happening in Sudan now. This is what the foreign countries are doing. We want to remove our nationals and allow Sudanese to continue to kill themselves. That is what war brings at the end of the day. The US, the Western powers that you think would mediate in the crisis will only be interested in taking their nationals and leaving your country. So that's why we always say that no matter what we find ourselves, no matter the situation we find ourselves, we must always preach peace. We are not going to get anything from war and anarchy. And that's what we are doing in Sudan.
Very unfortunate situation. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's quickly move on now. We also have here Another Lagos building collapses 24 hours after Sanwo-Olu's visit to Banana Island site. Yes, that has happened again. Buildings are still dropping in Lagos, Fuhad, even with almost 6 different regulatory agencies that are responsible, for building, building physical planning
Construction.
and all of that. So now, although according to this report, now we have riders, no casualty, as Lasema asked residents of adjoining buildings to evacuate. Developers broke seal to continue construction. Now that is where I'm going to focus on, because that's what that's what the government now is holding on to, saying that the building had actually been sealed off. According to Lagos State Materials Testing Laboratory, that's another one. I didn't even add this to the list. So that's overseas. Lagos State Materials Testing Laboratory, had actually sealed the building on January 5, 2023, but the developer continued with the construction. So now, do you think, the fact that there are no consequences, or the fact that there's no, punishment or punitive, there are no punitive measures put in place for developers, who contravene regulatory procedures, maybe that is why these people feel the effrontery to carry on with projects that have been sealed off? Remember the Ikoyi incident where there was the argument of no, 15 stories were approved, 21 was approved, 17 was approved, and then they kept going on and on even after the building was sealed off twice. So do you think maybe that is another reason why we keep having these issues, lack of punitive measures?
So I think firstly I need to mention that now that we're in the rainy season and the rains are going to come early, I think all the government will be careful to go into construction sites because the rains are going to come early, and we may, but because they are not completely sure of the structural integrity of a lot of projects going on in Lagos as we speak. I think I need to put that out. So I would advise that people are a bit careful going into building construction sites with the rains that are coming very, very early. Now, me as it may, I think the Lagos State government needs to sit back and tell themselves the own truth. And the reality is that, look, the regulatory framework for construction of houses in Lagos are failed because of corruption. Look, Sandra, how do you explain that you seal up a building for contravening to physical planning rules and all of that, and then the construction goes on? Are you saying that, look, the regulatory officials didn't see that, look, the steel was broken and construction continues? If the Lagos State government has a problem with staff to be proper monitoring and oversight, then we need to employ more people. And again, we talked about punitive measures, we talked about the fact that there's a lot of impunity, people just do what they like. Look at the issue of the Banana Island standard, the one that happened recently. It took a while for people to access that location, journalists for like a day before they could get to that particular site. The story we are getting from them now is that there are more buildings in Banana Island that they have to come down because they are failed structural integrity check as we speak. And we are talking about Banana Island, not just any other location, a higher location in Lagos. The Lagos State government has issued a statement saying they blame the federal government for the reckless expansion of Banana Island into the lagoon without approval from the state government. Again, it shows that, look, there's a lot of impunity going on, there's a lot going on with our construction industry and our regulatory body. There seems to be no coordination, really, in terms of properly monitoring construction in different parts of the state. And the only thing that I need to rationalize is the fact that, look, there's too much corruption in the system. Until now, the Korean building has collapsed. We only have the name of the company. They are not really gotten the details of the contractor and the people behind that project.
Now, let me make this even more interesting as it is now, because according to this report now, it was discovered that there was no signboard to indicate the nature of the building being constructed, no name of the contractor, nothing to show when the project commenced, which is actually against LAPSCA's building regulations. And residents in the area said that a resident in the area had said that her husband has been raising an alarm that building would soon drop, and that he was not surprised when he heard that the building collapsed. And what's good about it is the fact that it was because of the Eid al-Fitr holidays. That's why, there were no persons.
It was empty,
Yes, in the building. So the workers went home for the holidays, and that's why we have this particular one. Well, as it is now, moving forward, the report is saying that the people living around that area, because the buildings are too close, and that's raising the vulnerability associated with this kind of structure.
Other building.
Exactly. So the people living around that area must be educated and moved out for the time being. And it will take Lasema, Lapska, LSMTL to take action. And hopefully by Wednesday, actions will be taken. But it's quite unfortunate.
Sorry that I'm going to take you back a bit. When a building collapsed in the synagogue church of all nations, in the country there, killing over 90-something people, about 98 foreign nationals were killed. There was a coroner inquest, set up by the Lagos state government, and reports were given. Up to now, nobody, not one person has been prosecuted for that collapse in the synagogue.
Which brings us back to my question: is this due to the fact that there's no punishment? Everybody just believes that you can just agree.
I don't have to give that example now. Over 100 persons died in that collapse. 19 foreign nationals, and nothing happened eventually after the corona inquest and the report and all of that. Nothing happened. Nobody was arrested. Nobody was prosecuted.
All right. Well, more details of that on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here how unregulated estate agencies and firms engage in multi-million naira scam, and that is on page 21 of the Guardian newspaper. Just very quickly, fraudsters are exploiting the desperation of prospective homeowners and tenants to have roof over their heads and secure cheaper accommodation to defraud victims. It's a long read. You can get all of the details on page 21. As it says, many unsuspecting Nigerians have lost millions of naira to fraudulent operators who target individuals in their attempt to buy or sell a property. The unregulated nature of the market has created fertile ground for illegal activities. Fuhad, more regulation in the property sector or the real estate sector?
More regulation is needed, but of course there are regulatory frameworks are existing already to take care of things like this. But I think for sake of this particular story, I think we just have to advise anybody listening to us this morning. Yes, Nigerians are desperate to own a home or own a property everywhere in Lagos, in the state, even in Nigeria. But there are three things I advise people to take note of when you want to buy a property or you get an offer to own a property. The first thing is to do your due diligence. First thing, check the company very well. Make sure it's a registered company. And checking the company is also about their track record. What have they been able to deliver as a real estate company? Have they developed estate? Have they built estate? What is their track record? And you should also be careful in Uganda about what I call land speculators, presenting to the developers. They just give it a money, they have all this manner of agreement on money and they begin to sell.
Right.
You go to that site, there's nothing physically available for you to see. So you need to check the track record and do your due diligence. Check the title of the property that is presented to you. It's important.
Yeah, I know it's important, and I know you have quite a lot to say. I mean, that's
the next time you could go into the details of all
that is your area of expertise. But then, you can always join us on the Real Estate Market Today show on Tuesdays for more conversation as regards what should be done or what should not be done as regards Yes, thank you. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. And we just through with the Guardian newspaper, so we're moving on very quickly through the rest of the papers, speaking out stories that we had not treated from the Guardian. Don't forget that we are live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can join in the show and watch the program live at Mainland 98.3 FM. Now, moving on to the Nation newspaper, the major headline there, Nigerian students lament ordeal in crisis-torn Sudan. The writer says, it's dangerous to evacuate our 5,500 citizens without clearance, says federal government. US, UK, France, Russia move out nationals. More details on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. We also have here All right. 40% pay rise excites federal workers. So that's another thing that's been trending, all Sunday, all morning. Civil servants on consolidated public salary structure, COMS, yesterday expressed joy over the payment of the 40% peculiar allowance and arrears by the federal government. The workers, who are mostly those on grades 1 to 7 in the MDAs, commended the president for approving the payment. However, there's been some controversy surrounding that particular one, that there's been exclusion of the health sector and lecturers.
Yeah, the lecturers, yeah.
Yes. So that has caused, it seems to be raising some dust, around that particular story. Now, the Minister of Labour and Employment said other categories of workers, especially in ministries, will start receiving theirs before the end of the week. It's a long read. Some people have already started, receiving their alerts. It's on a graduated scale of coverage. There's a lot of things that's causing all of this. But then, looking at the one that's raising the dust now, the last time the consolidated health salary scale. Okay, so apparently it's different from the COMPS. CONPESS. That's different from the CONHESS. So that's consolidated public salary structure. And then we have consolidated health salary scale, which was adjusted in 2010. And most of the allowances due to nurses were being short paid. For instance, 30% shift allowance with less than 10%. Many things are causing agitation, including nurses' special salary structure. So as it is now, it's raising a lot of dust. Other federal workers will not benefit. We have CONUAS, that's Consolidated University Academic Structure. Workers in research institution under the Consolidated Research and Associated Institutions Salary Structure. And Ngige also explained that the payment is on graduated basis, restated that the increment is meant to help cushion the effect of inflation, high cost of living and transportation fare, as well as housing and electricity tariff. But why the exclusion of the other consolidations?
I don't know really. I don't know. But for the game, I think to a large extent, I've almost given up on the Minister of Labour. For such a man that can be a bit short, can come up with anything. So it's a man that I don't really believe have the capacity, to bring all workers to the table and treat them fair and equality. Because again, if you continue to ask me why the exclusion of the health workers and lecturers, I'll simply tell you whether I feel that look, it's not in the good books with them. That's the reason why that is happening. But again, if you notice, there are too many salary structures in the civil service.
A lot.
You mentioned about 10 now, and you almost got me confused.
I'm also confused.
There's too many salary structures. You have the consolidated data. But the reality is that every additional payment in salary to the salary of a worker will be celebrated, no matter how small. This is 40%. But why they celebrate, I think they need to understand and remember that in June, subsidy will be removed.
Yeah, but sorry to draw you back. The thing here now is that there's no justification for excluding, these other people from this pay rise. Why do you think? Because if we're looking at, inflation, high cost of living, transport fare,
it affects everybody.
It affects everybody. Well, let's not even talk about the impending subsidy removal situation where they said they'll give us 5,000 naira. But then
they are not one of the people that will get money.
How do you know?
You are not on the list already now. You are not on the list. So
have you seen the list?
Are you on the list?
I'm a vulnerable Nigerian.
Okay, I hear you. So let's move on.
Okay, but looking at this particular one now, as it is, the government there's no justification or there's no reason that we can get from this report. There's nothing from the federal government saying this is the reason why we are not looking at the health and the other consolidated people yet. All right, because there are other categories of workers, that's been excluded from this 40%, increment, which is supposed to be good news. But then you have some people that have been excluded.
Well, I think there's no explanation from the government on the reason for this exclusion. The only way to explain is to put it on the table of the Minister of Labour and the Minister of Finance, who are in charge of these things. And for me, the Minister of Labour, with his disruptive nature, like I said, is someone that is capable of coming up with anything and everything, just to create some kind of vendetta against everybody that is not on the same page with him. The health workers are never really been in the good books of the Minister of Labour. Same with the lecturers. I'm not speculating, but again, there's no clear explanation on why this section of workers have been excluded from this pay rise. So I think it has to go across all board, because again, everybody is affected by inflation. And everybody will also be obviously affected by the level of subsidy when it's done in June.
All right. Well, let's quickly run through now. We also have on the front page of the Nation newspaper 3 ways out of debt crisis, and that's coming from Bismarck Rewani, who happens to be a member of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, suggesting 3 options that Nigeria can adopt to resolve the lingering debt burden. 1. Approach the IMF for a policy support instrument. 2. Debt conversion. 3. Debt restructuring. Those are, the options that he gives on how we can actually, on how we can resolve our debt lingering issue. Because on the front page here of the Punch newspaper, we have above the masthead, we have a story here which says Nigeria's indebtedness to World Bank is now 6 trillion naira. Okay, so we still have a whole lot more that's probably be reviewed.
And I think more.
We're still asking for more for Ayetoro now. Most of all of these things will probably be revealed after this administration, leaves office, where the incoming administration will have to cry out and say, Egbawao, and all of that. But then these 3 options that are being advised by Bismarck Rewani, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm sure the first suggestion, you already know my thoughts on that. I'm not an economist, and so it will be difficult for me to begin to question the suggestions of now the economists like Bismarck Rewani. But I have my problem with believing in IMF, getting to discuss with them to look for solutions to a debt crisis, economic crisis. I've always said it. Nigeria has to sit back and look inward if we are going to solve our problems. These imperialist institutions and structures will never help us solve our problems. Sandra, is it IMF that will come and teach us how to invest in agriculture? Are they the ones that will come and tell us that we have valuable land and we are supposed to farm and diversify our economy? Is it IMF that will come and teach us how to solve the problem of crude theft? Is it IMF that will come and tell us that we should fix our refineries? Is it IMF that will come and tell us the basic thing that we should fix our electricity problem and give energy to our manufacturing sector so that we can produce and balance our trade internationally? What do we really need IMF to come and tell us that we do already know? Sandra, I'm just asking, what exactly do we need them to come and tell us that we cannot as a people sit down and decide on our own and get to work on it? I keep talking about the idea of expecting this imperialist structure to come and tell us what to do. It's not a waste of time. We need to sit back, Sandra, sit back and do the hard work of fixing this nation. We need to fight corruption, because no matter the policy the IMF gives us or expenses they give to us to revive our economy, if we don't fight corruption and take it out of our system, nothing will help it. And before that, we always say, move from consumption to production. We need to start producing. We need to fix our oil problem, the corruption in the oil sector, account for our food, fix our refineries and produce the refined fuel locally. And then, of course, fix our energy issues. There's one of the paper that carries this demand by Sandra. Our national grid has collapsed again. I think collapsed about 3,000 megawatts. Is that what we're going to be running this country as the economy in Africa? And we need IMF people to tell us how to fix that. We are just joking.
It's an option.
I'm just saying that we're joking, but we need for them to come and tell us what to do.
Well, thank you very much, Fuhad. As it is now, Nigeria's total public debt stands at 46.25 trillion naira. That is about $103 billion, and that's just as at December 31, 2022. So which means that we may be looking at almost 50 by the end, or 50 or thereabouts by the end of the this administration, which is putting the country at the tip of a debt crisis. So more details of the particular report on page 5.
We already have a debt crisis, Sandra.
Okay. I agree. I think I agree. Yes, I agree with you. More details on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. We also have now above the masthead of the name of the masthead that says, "Please, a private jet. He didn't live in a private on Adamawa residence." So called mainland 98. Now we're moving stories. What we have here asset declaration. Seeing a lot of things as regards. Bible has asked the National Assembly to make public the report of its investigations for labor and employment.
I'm sure you remember that contract was. So again, I think we wondering of his house, dodging and all of that.
Over $300,000.
He has a right to show off. He has use a bit of more discretion with it, or he should explain how he got the money to buy this property. He has been talking, he has talked about how he got the money and all of that. He should have applied a bit of more discretion.
Fuhad, we don't have so much time. I just want to ask some question. Did we really?
A lot of issues that we have not been able to allow.
No questions and all of that. That was what the money was used for. That was what I'm saying.
Until an investigation is conducted, until whether that money was used for. That's what I'm saying. I don't have the facts yet, but I'm just saying that the reason why there's a spotlight on Kenyamu and how he acquired the property was that he didn't show no discretion. Like I said, he has the right to do that, but a public official, he should have at least exercised a bit of caution.
Maybe he's so confident in the fact that I didn't use public funds, so anybody.
Reasonable.
Moving on to mainland folks this morning, we'll be